What's up, guys? We are back with another Cosmic Legions Wave 1 review, and we're taking a look at one of two OLEK THYGAR figures in this wave because he's special. He gets two figures in one wave. We're taking a look at the OLEK THYGAR Gravering version, and I did a review of both test shots, so I've been really curious to see the finished product in hand. Now, this guy is a standard figure, so he comes in a slightly smaller package compared to some of the other figures in this line, but it's still kind of a big box despite that. You've got him there in the window, you've got the hologram look down there on the bottom. One spine will give you his faction as well as his bio for this particular instance of his existence. The other spine will give you a write-up for book 1 and a small window that shows some accessories, and then the back will give you your cross-sell for everything in book 1. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Cosmic Legions OLEK THYGAR. Again, this is one of two versions of OLEK THYGAR that kind of denote different time periods for him. So the first one is the Hvalkatar version, the second one is the Gravering version, and that's what this is. After he's been sort of like dressed down, he's missing a lot of his gear, basically. He is a 1.0 figure, just like the majority of this wave, so not a whole lot of surprises when it comes to articulation. So let's run through it, see what he can do, see how he moves around, all that good stuff. I will point out quickly that the neck was corrected on this figure. It was really gappy on the test shots that people received, and it is definitely different here. So you've got a head that can look up really good. He can look down a good bit as well. You do have some tilt side to side and full rotation there. Arms out at the shoulders, they rotate. We've got our single jointed swiveling elbow, gauntlet swivel, wrist swivel, and hinge there. The hinges at the wrist are hindered going outwards because of the gauntlet sitting over top of them. At the torso, he's 1.0, so he just has the ball peg waist. He can sort of bobble forward slightly. It's decent. I do think that this guy, both versions really are kind of hindered here, and I think it has to do with multiple layers going on at the waist with the belts and everything. And also, he's really tightly waisted. He's got a super hard set of abs down there, and I think there's just not a lot of clearance. As a result, he's very close to that ball peg is what it comes across to me as. Legs go out, get him to do the splits. Kick forward, kick backward, you've got a thigh twist up there. Single jointed swiveling knee. You've got your swivel at the ankle, so they swivel at the top of the ankle because it's a peg. You've got rocker, pretty decent. And then we've got some hinge down there also. So normal stuff, nothing too crazy, nothing that you are not going to be unfamiliar with when it comes to anything 1.0 Legions related if you are at all familiar with this body style. Of course, that said, it was always about the looks for this guy for me, and having him in hand, I do think he looks a lot cooler in person than I expected, and I was already very much happy with him. I got a chance to take a look at the test shot. I don't own it, but I got a chance to take a look at it, and I was really happy with the sculpt, and that very much translates into the production figure as well. But with all this paint on top of it, it's just something else to kind of, soak in and take a look at, because there really is a lot of detail on this guy. And another thing that I've noticed with a few figures is that there is more metallic on this figure, even on his skin, than I had ever expected there would be. And I say that, being a good thing because I like that kind of stuff. I really, though, just at face value, like these parts. And I like his color scheme. The blue and the orange, always a fan of that because the colors go together. They play off of each other and they complement one another, and it works really well here. His torso is insanely textured and detailed. I cannot stress enough how detailed this is. Even the back, tons of different paint applications all over it, little hits of blue dry brushing. He's even got some purple on some of these spines. The back piece here is actually a separate piece. So this covers his pauldron holes and the back adapter holes. So if you wanted to give him actual pauldrons, or if you want to try to cram one of the space backpacks on him, you can do something like that. But you've got a separate piece here that will cover that in case you don't want to do that. And he looks, a little bit more complete. It also gives him a little bit more depth and oomph from the back. There's just so much sculpt on this, though. He is covered in all of these scales and plates, and the paint job on the torso and the arms themselves is just terrific. It goes from this sort of navy blue almost down to like a silvery pearly white in the core of his chest, and it's just incredibly striking. It looks really good. All of that is very much kind of complemented by the rest of the armor that he still has on. So he's got this sort of oversized girdle belt piece, which is all very flimsy in a good way, like it gets up and out of the way, black and blue, and the orange accents all over it. with that big codpiece that hangs down, and that all runs through the gauntlets as well with the same kind of color scheme. You've got the unique hands here with the 3 fingers. He's got unique feet with 4 toes. And then he does still have some armor on. He's got pants, you know, like standard pants. And I believe these are going to be like Mythic Legion's pants. And we've got the armor down here with his color scheme on it as well. More of that metallic blue, some of the gunmetal color, and that orange and black. I just really, I mean, obviously it's orange. I like orange, but you know, it's a really cool color scheme, and it works really nicely here. It's very spacey too. Like it all looks very futuristic as it's sort of shoved on top of this almost lizard alien guy. But I absolutely love the way he's sculpted and painted. He also has a little bit of height on him too because of this neck. So he looks bigger than he actually is. He's not a massive figure, but the neck sort of accentuates him just a little bit. It kind of lengthens him without actually making him taller, if that makes any sense. And of course, he's capped off with this particular head sculpt. And the heads on the OLEKs are different from the first to the second figure. So that first figure is not the same as the second figure, and vice versa. He's sort of changed a little bit. And I believe some of that's being told in the bios and some of the stories that are being posted on Source Horsemen. He's got something to do with the Greyborn that's in the second wave, I believe, right? And this head sculpt just is really awesome. The paint job, again, is terrific. There's some different finishes on him. So he's got some dry brushing to bring out that sculpt, but then he's also got some gloss to him as well on like the nose and the eyes and those, whatever they are on his forehead. I have no idea. Whatever like those ornamental details on his forehead are. And then he's got these like little tendrils that come off of his very elongated skull that have this nice fade from blue to purple. There's also some black highlights. So there's a decent amount of paint just on the head alone. But the sculpt is terrific, and it does a great job of bringing it out. And that's very much the name of the game for this figure for me. The sculpt is just through the roof on this particular body. His armor, it's all very, very detailed, but the amount of paint on this figure is pretty fantastic. He is absolutely covered in it, a lot of different colors, and it all brings out the sculpt, and it works nicely together to complement the sculpt and the paint. And you can just see we just got a really cool looking figure here. He's going to pop on your shelf because, again, he is very unique and he has this very striking color scheme. Now, as far as some size comparisons, let's start with other legions. So we've got Gorthok here on the left, and we've got a Tusk Sentry here on the right for 1.0 Mythic and Cosmic, and you can see right there they are very comparable. OLEK is slightly taller than these guys, but it's minimal at best. Let's move this guy aside. Let's do a Masterverse figure. So here is Faker. Let's pull Gorthok aside. Let's do a Super 7. Here's Lino from Thundercats. Of course, they're going to be all very comparable, being in the 7-inch realm. Let's pull Faker aside. Here is a NECA Turtle. There's Leo. Of course, he is much smaller. Let's take Lino aside, and here is a SH Figuarts. There is Turles from Dragon Ball Z. Let's pull Leo aside, and here is a Marvel Legends. Here is a female. Here's Psylocke from the recent X-Men 3-packs. And then let's do one more. Let's go back to Legions. Let's do a 2.0 figure. And let's do a smaller guy. Here's a Goblin. There's Nubnik. Just to give you an idea of what he's going to look like next to some of the smaller side of Legions. So, you know, as you can see, he's going to look really good with anything 7-inch range, but he also might be fine with stuff like Psylocke here, because he is a big alien guy. He doesn't necessarily have to scale with everything across every line. Now, as far as accessories goes, OLEK comes with a really solid spread, and that's mostly due to the fact that he basically has a hands pack included in the box. Something that we've seen a little bit in Legions in general, but it's still a relatively new thing. So he gets 8 additional hands in his package, in addition to the 2. So we get 10 total hands. He's got laterally hinged gripping hands on him in the box. You get a set of vertically hinged gripping hands. You get a set of laterally hinged trigger finger hands, a set of vertically hinged trigger finger hands, and a set of splayed finger hands. And I really like these because not only do they showcase how weird his hands are, but they also showcase how much paint is on these hands. They all have paint on the top and within the palms, and the fingernails are painted. So there's a lot of detail on those in general. He also comes with the 4 pegs for the ports on the figure. So if you want to stow weaponry, you know, stuff that he doesn't come with, because he doesn't come with guns, even though he has trigger finger hands, there is a weapons pack. You can always share weapons between figures. So if you want to give him guns and stow them on him, he does have the option with the pegs. So you get the 2 short and the 2 long. I feel like I have a mountain of them amassing already. And then we get his signature stuff. So we get his staff, and it comes in two forms. So this is the broken down staff. It's just sort of like a bronzy color with a nice patina on it. So there's a story behind this. It goes with the Greyborn in Wave 2, I believe. But we've got the staff, and we've got the detached, what's called the meteor hammer here. So it's like a big flail with like this sort of globe on the end of it. It's done up in the same color with the same paint scheme. It's got a real metal chain, and then you've got the handle. So he can hold this really well, and you can wrap it around his arm, stuff like that. But then this is the combined version. So this is the full-on staff, and these stabs are actually different. Like, they're not exactly the same. Like, this isn't just missing the top. It's not exactly the same. There's a little piece, like, down here at the bottom that's missing on this one. So there's something about this thing that's unique. But he's got this big staff, and it's, of course, taller than the figure is. But this is really cool. I like the idea of, you know, this, like, sort of space lizard guy using this big melee weapon. And then we also get one of these doodads, too. And, again, I'm a big fan of these. I'm assuming this is, like, a ship of some kind, maybe his ship. And it's done up in green translucent plastic. And of course, this is one of the little projection things that goes in the wrist ports on gauntlets. And, you know, of course, you can share this across figures. But I just like the idea of this. I think it's so cool and fun and just something different, something that can pop out of their wrist and maybe transform them from being in just a standard vanilla pose into them doing at least something rather than just sort of standing there on your shelf. So these things are pretty versatile, and I'm a big fan of those. So he comes with a pretty solid spread. Again, a lot of his accessories are hands, but he basically has a hands pack here. Then he has 3 different weapons depending on how you want to use them. You get the pegs, and then of course we get our projection. So there's a lot of stuff in this box to really make him to be a well-rounded figure. So yeah, overall, this figure is really, really solid. The Gravering OLEK is a nice example of just how crazy the Horsemen go on detail and paint on figures. There's so much to just kind of pour over with this guy. Tons of sculpt, tons of detail, a lot of different paint all over that torso. And I think that's the big focal point, is that torso and the head, these striking blue colors, all of that scaly textured detail. It's just going to catch your eye. It's going to pop against pretty much anything else cosmic, especially if you get him with somebody like Kragnar. He's going to pop against Kragnar really well, but he's also just a striking figure on his own. He also comes with a really solid array of accessories. Like I said, he basically has a hand pack within the box, kind of like we saw with Dubon in Mythic Legions. He comes with some cool weapons. He's got the projection doodad, which I'm already a big fan of, and he comes with a bunch of different hands. So there's a lot of possibilities with this guy, especially if you're getting the other one as well. So that's going to do it for this look at the Cosmic Legions Gravering OLEK THYGAR. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.